There was 2 hot fixes? Ladies, gentlemen, and haradrim of all ages, after 8 days without a single hotfix, we had a really busy night last night, giving us 2 whole hotfixes for Diablo 4. On top of that, the conversation on Seasons resetting progress is still in full swing, people voicing tons of concerns about it and hoping for dev response, to which of course the devs have in fact responded. On top of that, there is a pre-rendered cutscene in Diablo 4 right now that you could easily never see if you aren't looking out for it, and it has some implications for the future too, so that's pretty important. So let's talk about all the things that have been going on in the Diablo 4 community in the last couple of days. First up, of course, is the hotfixes themselves, the juicy stuff. The first one's main change was fixing up the Druid loot table, which means removing the Barbarian unique weapons, Overkill, Hellhammer, and Ancient's Oath from being able to drop for Druids. As a Druid main, I'd gotten a couple copies of each of those, and it's part of why I started my Barbarian a little bit earlier than I expected to be, because hey, if you have the uniques, why wouldn't you, right? The thing is, that was 3 extra uniques capable of dropping for Druid that they couldn't really use, at least not properly, which was really just obfuscating the drop pool for the class. Druid has a pool of about 14 uniques that it can get before level 85, adding 3 to that just lowered the chances of getting something actually useful when that lovely unique text and sound effect played when an item dropped from an enemy, so it's really nice to have that fixed up for Druids. Past that, there were some fixes for Sorcerer, most notably fixing the Combustion key passive. This makes burning effects deal 2% increased damage per unique source of burning on an enemy, doubled if they have more than 3 sources of burning. This was actually broken until today. It wasn't working right, something in the code wasn't calculating this correctly, and so it was far weaker than it actually should have been. But now they have that fixed and it should be working as intended. In theory, this won't just instantly make Fire Sorcerer super strong, it was pretty weak before, but it is good to have it fixed, and hopefully that playstyle will get a bit of love in the upcoming balance patch as well. Past that, there was an issue where ice shards would cause significant controller vibration, and that's been fixed as well, and otherwise this patch is just stability improvements, performance improvements, normal stuff, right? Well, as it turns out, right after this hotfix, a bunch of people were reporting issues with Hammer of the Ancients, an ability for Barbarian, saying that it actually got nerfed quite a fair bit, and that it wasn't even in the patch notes. This was starting to become a much more popular build for Barbarian as of late, especially for high Nightmare Dungeon pushing, so just stealth nerfing that would have been a bit of a nasty move. But we did get confirmation that the hotfix did nerf Hammer of the Ancients, but no, this was not actually intentional, it was some sort of bug between the actual stability improvements for the ability and the numbers somehow. Adam Fletcher, the community manager for the game, said that the team was looking into it, and within literally just a few hours, Hotfix 13 came into existence. The first item of this fix was correcting the infinite monster spawn glitch that can happen in stellar events. This was a pretty potent method of XP farm, but now of course it is gone, and it is a reasonable thing to remove as well, all things considered. That is clearly not an intended game mechanic. Then past that, they rooted out the cause of the Hammer of the Ancients issue. Apparently one of the things that they did in the previous hotfix was try to improve stability and performance for this ability, and well, somehow that actually resulted in a proper nerf, and so it has just been fully reverted to the way that it was before, and it should be working fine now. All that to say, this was an extremely quick response from the dev team. There was an issue with the hotfix they made, and clearly a bunch of people stayed late at work on a Friday night to fix the mistake, so I think that that deserves a bit of recognition at the very least. Past that, we just have some tweets from the developers themselves that give us more information about the current state of the game, as well as their plans on it for the upcoming future. The first one was in relation to a tweet about experience gain and how it seems a little bit stunted in the late game. Adam says there are quite a few tweaks to XP coming even beyond Nightmare Dungeon changes, and of course remember the seasonal blessing system will grant you some bonus XP during the season. For those that remember them bringing up that system in a pre-launch live stream, the original numbers were something like 3% increased monster XP gain per rank, up to a maximum of 12% because you can have 4 ranks, but that is a decent amount of extra XP, that's nothing to scoff at, and that's always subject to change of course as far as the numbers. That said, I am very interested to find out what they are going to be doing with XP gain in general, especially if they are changing things even outside of Nightmare Dungeons. Hopefully it's just good for everyone as a whole, as the journey to 100 right now is just an absolute slog. The experience required is just nasty past level 80, and once you get past level 90, it would take you so much gameplay just to get to level 100, even if you're just using XP farm methods.
Just so much.
Moving on from that, we have a couple of tweets giving interesting yet somewhat conflicting timelines on that massive patch that we know is just around the corner. This one is in response to more questions about the Necromancer Shadow Corpse Explosion visual problem. We know that the fix to this issue is part of the proper client patch that they've told us this a number of times in the past, but the specific wording of note here from Adam Fletcher is next big client patch, which is coming soon. This of course implies that the client patch will be coming soon. Past that, we had someone question how long it would be until Nightmare Dungeon buffs that were talked about in the Campfire Chat, and the response to this was that these changes are actually going to be split into a number of different smaller sections that will be released over a number of patches and hotfixes over the coming weeks. Essentially, there are a lot of changes coming, and the Nightmare Dungeon ones won't necessarily be in one big bunch so much as they are just spread out one little bit at a time. Past that, we should also talk about the tweet that we covered last time that said the big patch was in the coming weeks, and said that it had been less than a week since the stream. This implied that it would be a bit longer than we were expecting, but the earlier tweet that we just talked about Necromancer visuals also implied it was relatively soon now. So to me, the likely spot for this, based on the just sort of Venn diagram of these two tweets, is actually the coming week ahead of us. But again, a lot of the information on the timing of this patch has been a little bit contradictory, so trying to guess the exact timing that it will land for us is a really tough game to play. Past that, we had some more questions on seasons and gripes about the concept as well. Someone asking if non-seasonal characters get to experience new content, or if it is just within the seasons. And we know the answer to parts of this already. Stuff like the season questline and the themes that are applied to the world will be season only. The season pass itself will be season only. But Adam Fletcher replied new legendary powers and uniques from the seasons will transition to the Eternal Realm after the seasons end. Some people misunderstood this and assumed they meant only the items on the character already, and we're all already complaining about how the Eternal Realm will mean nothing if it's missing these important parts of gameplay. No legendaries and uniques for people who don't take part in the seasons will suck. But Joseph Pipiora corrected all of this, even correcting Adam Fletcher when he said that new legendary aspects and unique items are added into the game, and when this happens, it will not actually be locked to the seasonal realm at all. You don't even have to wait until after the season. These will be made available on the Eternal Realm at the exact same time as the seasonal realm. This means if you are someone who only wants to play on the Eternal Realm, you can still get any new uniques and legendaries that they add to the game when they are added to the game in the first place, which is actually really cool to hear. I was under the belief that this wouldn't happen until after the season was over, which would mean a 3-month or so gap between the servers that would really suck for the Eternal Realm players, but this changes that quite significantly. Past this, finally, we had some confirmation about the ultra rare all-class unique items that are in the game from the lead class designer for Diablo 4. We have a full video talking about this as it's quite an important topic and what it means as a whole if you want to check that out, but the short summary is that these items actually do not drop from enemies that are under level 85, which is why they've been considered as rare as they are. For as many people as are playing the game, literally millions, the number of people that are actually above level 85 is only a pretty small fraction of the player base even at this point. And that is pretty much everything of importance from the devs themselves, but we do have one actual thing of note left, which is the existence of a post-credit scene for Diablo 4. Once you finish the campaign, the credits roll. There is even a fast forward button, but you have the option to skip the credits too. Personally, I made it about 4 or 5 minutes into the credits, and then my brain was like, okay, this is too many names, I can't do this, I'm sorry, I appreciate you all, but I can't. And then I hit the skip button. I assume I am far from the only one who did this. People skip credits all the time in games, but if you did that in this game, you may well have missed the post-credits cutscene. It's nothing massive, I wouldn't call it a spoiler either, really, but it's about a 3 to 4 second just flash of a demon's head partially submerged, and by all accounts, this is very likely to be Mephisto, the prime evil of hatred. We didn't actually fight any proper prime evil level demons in Diablo 4, which is an interesting thing to note, but this could easily just be implying that we will do so in the future, likely in the first expansion for Diablo 4, whenever that actually does happen. All that to say, there is more to come for this game. They planned more, we knew there was more, and while this doesn't really change anything, as if you were paying attention to the story anyways, you probably assumed it would go this way, but I just thought it was neat to see this post-credit scene exist, and the vast majority of players probably never even saw it because of where it is. And that's just about it for today, everyone. Just a nice roundup and breakdown of all the news from the Diablo community over the last couple of days. The rest of the weekend should be pretty quiet in that respect, but I'll likely be back on Monday or Tuesday when even more stuff starts going down. I hope you enjoyed the video, and personally I hope this big patch comes soon because I am so excited for it that it is genuinely affecting my sleep, which of course tells me that I am a very, very healthy human being. Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.